All right. So I think today is Wednesday. We are going to look at the cross-browser compatibility and debugging. You understand? We are going to just look at the cross-browser compatibility and the debugging. So it's just like when you are dealing with coding or when you are designing and you run out of problems, you understand? You encounter a problem. These are things that you need to focus on. So the debugging just simple means try to find a solution. Understand? Trying to figure out what happens with your code. If there is any problem with your code, if you did something it is not working, maybe you add a pseudo element like hover, and maybe you're hovering on the maybe a button and it's not working. You or whatever you do, like solution that you look at it is what we call debugging. So if someone was talking about debugging, you have to just know that it is finding a solution for your code. You understand? Because in every language has its own word that it uses. So in coding, when you hear debugging, it's just like in mathematics that like finding a solution. Uh-huh. And cross-browser compatibility is just like some features or some new elements or some features on maybe CSS or HTML that they have introduced, which is not compatible with maybe some of the browsers like Google Chrome, Safari, and so on. So that is what it's talking about, cross-browser compatibility and debugging. So sometimes if you design a website, you have to make sure that you use element that you think that in every browser it will work. So then don't just look at an element or maybe a new feature has come and then you will just want to use it on your website. You have to first look at that features. Is it compatible with all of the browsers? At least maybe 80% of the browsers is compatible. You understand? Because it's not every browser that a lot of people are using. A lot of people uses Google Chrome. You understand? And if you find yourself that maybe your website is not compatible, maybe some of the features are not compatible in Google Chrome, definitely it's going to bring a problem in your in your design. So that is the simplest thing I can explain. And this is a short course or mini code that I just try to explain to you how it is, what is that cross-browser compatibility and debugging. So this short course covers two important web development concepts. That is what cross-browser compatibility and debugging. And it helps developers ensures websites work correctly across different browsers, right? And fix error efficiently. So the fixing of error is what we call debugging, right? So first of all, you are looking at, is it compatible with all the browsers or with most of the browsers? And also, is there any problem that you can fix so that it will what? Your website will be efficient. What is that cross-browser compatibility? It ensures your website looks and work correctly on different browsers like what? Like Chrome, Firefox, Microsoft Edge, and Safari. So that is simple about that cross-browser compatibility. Why does it matter? Consistent design across browsers, right? So that it is consistent across all or most of the browsers. Better user experience. That's why I was saying that if you have a feature which is not compatible in Google Chrome, you don't have to use it. Because if a user is using it and he found he cannot access that feature, definitely that is a bad user experience, right? So if you use all features or features that are compatible with most of the Chrome browsers or most of the browsers, you are always safe so that you will not end up in any problem. It also ensures as professional website. You have a professional website design and more accessibility. As you remember, we talk about this accessibility, looking at when someone is visually impaired, right? So that you use all the semantic elements, right?
Yeah.
Mhm. Best practices is use standard HTML5 and CSS3. And so because this is mostly accepted, or this is mostly compatible with all of the browsers, right? That's why I say
Mm.
use HTML5 and CSS3. You understand? Test on multiple browsers. After you finish your design, try and test it on multiple devices, browsers. After you have your website, for instance, here, if if I can open my website here, maybe I will say, oh, this is my website. And I say, this is my website, right? Then I'll look at it, how it is now. I'll look at this features. Is there anything is working? Just try to look at it one by one, go through it, run through and look at, scale it, make it, adjust it in a small way, go to the developer tools, try to look at the responsiveness, right? And then
Yeah.
try to see, is it compatible and is there any error in any aspects? Go through the mobile responsiveness and see, is there any problem with it? You understand? Go through and look at all the features, the fonts, the text, the pictures. Go through it and look at, is there anything that is missing or any problem? You understand?
Mm.
Uh, then after you do that, you just go to You go to, this is Google Chrome, right? So after that, you can also go to Open another browser like Opera. Opera is also another browser, Opera Mini. You understand? You search and search your website there and look at it on here again. How is it looking? Is there any problem, any features? If something is not working, you look at it. You go to developer tools again, look at the responsiveness tool here. Try to look at, is there any problem? Understand? Always try and look at all these things. So that is what it means by browser compatibility. Understand? So all
Mm.
of these are something that you need to check in every after you design your website. You use Use CSS preset or normalize. You can use CSS reset or normalize. That is this other something. Let me check if I could remember this. CSS normalize, I think. You see, CSS reset does provides a clean slate by removing all default browser styles. Understand? So it removes all default browser styles, allowing developers to apply their custom styles from scratch. You understand? So it allows the to use to apply custom styles from scratch. And then normalize does preserve useful default style and ensure consistency across different browsers without stripping everything away. You understand? So if you want to start from scratch, you can use CSS reset. And one of these CSS reset are what we did the last time, which is making the margin and padding to be 0 and changing the box sizing to border box, if you could remember. Let me
Yeah.
see. Right here, right? Let me put this. So for instance, if I come here, like the way we did here, you see here is we reset all at the margin and padding and box size into border box. Because the last time I was telling you that when any browser, or most of, especially Google Chrome, it has an already margin and padding, and that's it comes with margin, its own margin and padding. You understand? So here you see that there is no margin and padding. But if I remove this margin and padding to be zero, if I remove this, just look at here, you see what is happening. You see there's a white space here,
Mm.
right? You see some white spaces. So that is what is adding this margin and what padding. We see them. But if I add it to make it zero, you see it is gone. So that is what we call reset. You are resetting the CSS to become zero. So that is what it's talking about here. But if you want to, you can leave it. But in some features, maybe if you leave it, if you want to remove it somewhere here, you can do it in this place. So that is what it means here. And use vendor prefixes when needed, right? Use vendor prefixes when needed, especially in CSS when you are having this what do you call um some of the naming check, because I think it's the naming. Yeah, so the vendor preferences help ensure that your website will work consistently across different browsers. You may want to add a new animation to your site. However, not all browsers support the word animation the same way. You understand? So by using the vendor preferences, you can write code that works for each browser. I understand. So this vendor prefixes is also what that will help in making your website compatible with all of the browsers. You understand? So you can go and check it. This is one of the website you can also go and read about it. You see, why use vendor prefixes? And it is like look at the dot box. Understand? So this is the vendor prefixes. Sometimes I think you might see some of these things. This like WebKit transition, MOX transition, MS transition. Sometimes you can see all this, but sometimes it's not all the browsers will support all these things. So in order for you to be safe, you can decide not to use it. You understand? Because I think definitely if you go through some of the code of some other developers, you might see some of them like this. They add this like minus WebKit, and it tells that this prefix is used for WebKit browser such as what Chrome and Safari, right? So WebKit browsers are what like Chrome and Safari. So if you go and use it in other browsers, maybe it might not work. So you have to also check that. And if you don't want to run into problem, just avoid using them. There is also mouse, MSO. So if I go to like in CSS, if I go here and say I want to add something like um let me is it let me see transition. So when I try to write transition and I come down, you see all this minus zero minus transition. You see that all transition. So these the web kits, right? You see them. You see the most transition, right?
Yeah.
You see them, all of them are the same. Like it's the same thing as the transition, but they added these prefixes.
Mm.
You understand? WebKit transition, and some of them what do not support others. So in order to not to disturb yourself, if you think that this could create a problem, just use a normal transition instead of what using either this zero transition or view transition or maybe Morse transition. You understand? So you have to know that these things also exist. Mhm. And then also you validate your code. Let's check all the code and look at if there is any problem. You can also use some of the tools that will check all of these things and see if there is any problem in your CSS code. I understand. So example like button, you see there's a button and you added border radius of 10 pixels. You see the word, the vendor prefixes. You see WebKit, border radius, 10 pixels, right? You could decide to remove these prefixes and just write your own border radius. I understand. But if you prefer to write it, you have to write it and make sure that it is going to be compatible with all other browsers, right? So it helps you. This also what helps if that browser doesn't support maybe border radius because of this WebKit, it will support it. You understand? Based on whichever vendor prefaces that you use. Mhm.
Mm.
So the preface is this thing. This is the preface. This one is preface. You understand? Well, normal standard is this, right? Border radius,
Mm.
right? So when you see something like that, don't panic or say, "Oh, what is this? I've never seen it before." It's the same thing, but you just try to add that compatibility to make sure that it's compatible to all other browsers. Mhm. So the second is the debugging. What is the debugging? I already told you. Debugging means finding and fixing errors in your code, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to find a solution. What happens? Why is it that when I hover on an element, it's not working? Why is it that maybe my image is not showing? All of these are things that you look at it in debugging. You fix the errors. Maybe you miss some spelling mistake. You understand? So all these are what we call debugging. And in website development, the most difficult part is this thing, debugging. You understand? Trying to find a solution. Even in everyday life, that is what we always encounter. We are the ones who create the thing, and we are the ones who all are going to look at the solution.
And what is food? It's your. Mm.
You understand? Okay, so some of the common errors before you start debugging are look at missing closing tags, right?
You said?
Some of the common errors,
Yeah.
missing closing tags. This thing you've done it so many times, right?
Yeah.
Even I deducted some of the marks from you because you missed some of the closing tags.
Listen to,
So
yeah.
so this is what the errors are or the debugging are. Wrong class names, right? You did this one too. You did it. I think you did it twice or once. Instead of
Last
writing
name.
writing the class name, you write a wrong class name. You remember, you wrote
Mm.
instead of container, you wrote container one,
Yeah.
right? So this is wrong class name. If you do that, your code or your CSS is not going to work because you are targeting the wrong what selector. You understand? CSS not link, right? You did this thing too. You did the you remember, right?
Which one?
The CSS is not link.
Ah, yeah,
So
yeah.
you're trying to link the CSS, but you couldn't do it. And
Yeah.
it's also part of the file part that we did.
Yeah.
So it's also another big problem that a lot of people are not looking at it. If you do a mistake in that CSS, you'll be applying it and it's not working. You'll be asking yourself, why is my CSS not working? And then wrong file path, right? Wrong file path. I hope you remember this.
Yeah.
Or if you don't remember, this is the simplest way here. For instance, I have a video here, right? And this is what called asset. This is the file path. The source is a file path. So I'm looking at this file. So this file is working. But if I make a mistake here, instead of writing this, even the extension .mp4, and I made a mistake, I remove this, you see that this video is not working again, right?
Yeah.
So either you miss a spelling of the file path, or you put a wrong file path here. You see that your video will not show. So that is what it is talking about. And the link one is this, the CSS one. If you make a mistake here, the file path here is also what? The CSS will not work. So if here I remove this CSS here and I remove this, you see that this one has changed, right? So it means that my CSS is not linked correctly. So that is all what it's about. And typos in the CSS. If you have mistake, like here, as I did here, in CSS, you go here and instead of this container, I remove the dot and I just hit container. You see that nothing is what? No, it's gone, right? So that is what missing typo is. So make sure since it's this class, it has to be dot class, right? And if it is a class and you go and did it as an ID, maybe adding an hash like this is still not going to work because this is not what an ID, it is a class. So giving a dot. So that is also some of the common errors. So these are some of the common errors. So always try to what? Make sure after you design or when you are designing, think of all these things. Missing closing tag, wrong class name, CSS is not linked, wrong file path, typo in CSS. Make sure you will look at all these things. You can even write this somewhere. So when you run into a problem, you ask yourself, is there any problem on this? You check it. No, you check this. No, you check this until you find the real problem. And we have some of the debugging tools that we normally use. Understand? We have browser inspect tool. Browser inspect tools. Some of the tools that you can use. The browser inspect tools are some of these are like the developer tools, right? So if here I have a website, for instance, this is my website, right? So if I want to look at the debugging, I can just click here, right? And go to inspect, right? Go to inspect and it's open. So this is what we call the dev tools, right? So this is what we call dev tools. It is things that we use to debug our code. If there is any problem, we look at it here. You understand? Because it's here, it gives us all the code that we did. You see in the website, you see this code. This is what the elements. This is console. The console is just about what? The JavaScript. You understand? It's showing
Yeah.
how to execute the JavaScript, which we did not, we are not doing that. But we are looking at elements, which is HTML, and styles, which is CSS. So the way you have it here, HTML, CSS is the same thing as you have it here. HTML, which is element, CSS, which is style. You understand? So for instance, if I'm going to open this website that I'm just giving an example. If I'm going to open this, the one I just did, you see that element is this, right? So when I come here, this is my body, this is my head, and this is my body. So inside the body, what do I have inside the body? I can expand this and look at the body. So this is the body. I have what? Section and I have footer, right? So in each place that I put my mouse on, you see that it's highlighting there. So if it is section, it will highlight here like this. You see it is highlighting the section. And if it is footer, it's highlighting the footer. So if I click to expand this section, I click this to expand this section, you see all whatever I have in this section. You see here, I have my video gallery. So when I hover it, you see it is hovering here, this place. Look at on the video gallery, right? So for instance, here, if I want to change, if I look at it and say, I want to change this, I want to see how it's going to look. Maybe if it's not video gallery, I want to change about this text. I can just come here, double click here, and change the name to maybe house, maybe gallery, right?
Yeah.
You see it changed to house gallery. But this one is just a temporal, right? It's temporal. It's just to show to the person or just to show to the developer that if you do it like this, it will look nicer than maybe the other one, video gallery. And so if you like it, then you go back to your main design here, and change this name, right? But here it is just for a short period of time for you to see. But if you refresh it, it will go back to normal listing. You understand?
Yeah.
Because here it's just it's just a temporary thing that you are doing, just to look how it's going to be. I hope you understand. It's the same thing here. For instance, if you here we have these videos. So when I click here, okay, let me just use the same thing. This thing, same thing. This is what? This is the video gallery, right? Which is H1, right? And look at its CSS. So immediately I click it, its CSS will pop up here, the style. You see H1, right?
Yeah.
And whatever I wrote there is the same thing. Color, text, align, padding. So look at here, container one, color, text, align, padding. You see this one. The same thing here, right?
Yeah.
So if I say I don't want the color, I want to change this color, it's the same thing. I can just highlight this, click on it, it give me, maybe I can choose different color. You see that I can change the color there, right?
Yeah.
So this is what the debugging is, how to what to change something. So if I like the color, I can just copy this, right? Can just copy this hash code color, go back to my main what CSS, and just put that here, right? So you see that I have that color. You understand?
Yeah.
So that is what it normally do. You see that when I change that color here, you see that when I come here, you see the color is gone here. But because unless I refresh it, then this thing that I did will affect here. So when I refresh it, now this color is what applied, and you see it is here now. You understand? So it's the same thing. You can even add additional thing here, right? You can even add here. Come here, click there, and say you want to add maybe font size. Font size. Font size, and you say you want the font size to be maybe 30 pixels. Or maybe maybe 50 pixels. You see, it is big. So here it's like the CSS that you are doing here. Whatever you are doing here is the same thing as here. But here is temporary. You are just doing it, and then if you see that it look good, then you copy it, go back to the main website, the main design, and put it here, right?
Yeah.
So that is one thing that we are talking about, the developer tools. That is the browser inspect tools. console error. Console error is also part here. You look at this here, if there is any error. You understand? You see here there is WebSocket, but this one doesn't, it's not about what we are doing. It's about the connection, this thing.
Mm.
You understand? So all error about maybe JavaScript can also be applied here. You understand? So an error, sometimes you can see it here. You can look at here. This is the error. And so it says that open console to view one error. So this is the error that it's giving you here. And it can also give you the errors here. You understand? So you say here is no info. Here is a no warning. So if all these symbols give you what, you have to know that, oh, these symbols are this. So when you see this kind of symbol, it means no warning, meaning warning. So if here it's about info, if there is error, this circle or what, and multiple sign will be here, right? And here is about user. So all these things have what? Have their own what important things here, right? We have the source, we have network, things to do with the network, performance. You understand? Where you check your website performance. You understand how your website looks, the speed, you look at the memory, application, your local storage. You understand what you're using, like maybe you are using database, your security, lighthouse, right? Record. You understand? You record your what you are doing here. You can record it here. And this one, other feature that are added, the component. This one it looks for and React. It's another JavaScript library, framework. You understand? So this development tools is always mostly in most of the browsers. You understand? Even in Opera browser, you can right click the same thing and go to inspect, right? Inspect the same thing. You see that it is also down here. You see it is also here, right? So it depends on you. Here you can come here and right click here, this three dot here, depending on how the interface you want. You see that the website is above and the developer tool is down, right? You can also choose
Yeah.
this, and this website is here and the developer tool is here. You can come here and choose different one. This one is here and this one is here. Depending on whichever you want it, you can come and choose it. I understand. And most of the time, we like to see the website above and the develop tools is below. Mhm. And this is where you use to control the responsiveness. Understand? So you see, when you see these elements or this symbol, it means responsiveness. You see a big laptop and a small mobile phone here, right? So when you click on it, now it goes back to the normal size. But when you want to see the responsiveness, you come and click on it, and now you can resize it. Right? See, now you can resize it. You understand? Mhm. So that is how it is. And here too, if you want to see, if you highlight something, you want to see that, oh, I'm highlighting on this thing, you can click on this. You see, it is saying select an element into the page to inspect. So if I click on it. So now if I go inside that thing, every element that I set will be what? Highlighted. You see. So I'm here, it means I'm on here. And it also give you some information about the color, the margin, and so if you are designing a website and you want a website something like this, you can come here and you want to see what they did. You can come here and look at the header. So you see that they use what? The header is having what? 144. The width is 1442.4 and the height is 60.8 pixels. You understand? You can see this is what? a link, which is A, and they are using fonts of what? Manrope and Poppins, and they are using the color, this color, the hex code. And so if you want to see the color, you can come here and you see this color, the code, the color code, you see it is there.
Yeah.
So this is how we can also use. And even if you see an element you want to copy, you can highlight here and copy it. And so if it is any element that you see you want to copy the code, for instance, here, look at the div here. I can go inside and see it has a div, right? I can go inside a lot of div inside. I can go inside this. We'll go inside. We see this is what, right? So you can all do this and not copy. You can just look at this here. Okay. So this is just another browser that I'm showing you. You can go online or you can try any other browser. You understand? There are a lot of browsers that you can use. You understand? So as I was telling you, look at here, you can all do all these things. You understand? So if I want to copy this, I can just copy this. Maybe click here, highlight, click on it. It takes me to the H1. Then here I can come here and click on here and it says that copy. So I can copy the element. Which element am I copying? H1 element, right? So I can just copy the element. I can copy the selector, which is the CSS of it, right? So if I want to copy the element, I can click on it, copy element. I can go back to my main design, come here. And if I want to paste it here, I can come here and say, paste it here. You see. So I will go down, you see it is here. So this is what I copied. So there's some skill that you can do if you want to copy some, you see some style or some beautiful design in somebody's website and you want to copy it and put it in your website, you can also do it here. You understand? That in the console error that I was telling you, there's also a W3C validator and the temporary borders. These are temporary borders that I showed the last time from here. This from the layout, right? So I show you where is it? If I put it in here. I showed you somewhere. It was here. You see this border. You see that now it is 000. Why? Because I made this to be 0. Here, look up here. I made this as I told you the last time. My CSS margin is 0, padding is 0, right? So that is why here you see that here is 0. But when I remove this, when I remove all this, when I remove this, look at, and I refresh it, look at the initial, this margin is what? 21, right? And here is also 21. And when you go inside, this padding is 15, and here is 15, right? But if I don't want them, I just go on what? Make it 000. So that you see that now here it is 0, here it is 0. Understand? So that is what this thing is. The example is this debugging of CSS. You go and look at your div, border, 1 pixel, solid red. So you can go and change this as I show you an example. Yeah, so for instance, if you see anything like in the style, your CSS, your elements, if there's anything as I show you from the head, you can just change something here. It will change this. Understand? So that is some of the example it gives you here. And so the practice is just simple. open your project, right? Test in two browsers. Maybe you use Google Chrome or use what Opera Mini or what any other browsers. Then click on inspect element, fix error, and add temporary borders to what to the back layout. So this is all about this browser compatibility and that of the debugging. And therefore, mastering the compatibility and debugging helps you build reliable professional website. Understand? So this is just a simple or mini course about debugging. And if you look at the W3 schools, it's the same thing. What is the HTML and CSS debugging and testing? Systematic debugging and testing catches what? Catch visual regressions before they ship. Combine browser dev tools, automated checks, and visual tests to keep interface stable across changes. And what you do, you use what the developer tool we see dev tools instead of what developer tool. We shorten it and say dev tools. So once you see someone talking about dev tools, it means developer tools. And that developer tools is what I just show you here. Inspect, right click, inspect. This is the developer tools. That's what we call developer tool, right? And then if you want to see the code itself, like for instance, if you want to see the code, instead of maybe this, you can also right click and say you want to see the page, the code itself. Right click and you see the code, the HTML. And so there are two different things here. One is for inspect. We are looking at it in order to solve problems. One is just to see the HTML code. So this is the HTML code. You understand? It's not everyone that leave this code because some people look at it like you can copy this. You understand? So some people just normally some of them they use when you publish it online, and now it is already what it is blocked. So even if you go to my website, for instance, and say you want to view my website, you say, oh, this website looks good. You want to just copy the code, the HTML, you say view page. You see that you cannot copy it, right?
Mm,
You see how you cannot now copy it because there's security there, it is blocked,
mm,
right?
yeah.
But because here you are just building it, right? Here you are just building it. So you see how it looks here. But after you publish it online, and it's difficult, but other people can also use some scrapers to copy all the code and this and try to use it. But they
Mm,
have to also sit down and change to suit their own websites. They cannot just copy this exactly. They should just sit down and try and change something to match their own website. You understand? However, some people can also use a clone tool to clone this website to look the same as this.
mm,
So that's is cloning. They can clone the same website. Mm-hmm. You understand? So all these things, you can just go and read about this. I don't want to go through a lot because it's the same thing. And this is also about using some of the Visual Studio Code. There's some extension that you can use,
mm,
right? There's some extension that you can use. You configure the linters like style lints, X lints, and what to enforce consistent pattern. And this you can also use Prettier. Prettier is also another extension that can also use to maintain your code. And so here, when you see my code here, immediately I write something. For instance, here, if I go here and write something like, I just go here and read, see H1, maybe H2. and write hello world. You see that when I wrote the hello world, you see that it is sitting here. You see, I didn't write it in a what? In a good form. And I should have written it here to be in line with this, right?
Yeah.
But because I install what the prettier, when I just save, it will just arrange it perfectly for me. So now if I click Control S to save, you see that it will arrange itself. You see the code that this has arranged itself here. You understand? Even if I just do this way and save it, it will arrange itself perfectly for me because I'm using what an extension, which you can also look at here. You can go to the extension, search for what prettier.
Yeah.
Prettier, you see prettier, you see prettier. You click on it, and then you can install it because I already installed it. I don't want to uninstall it again. For you, if you want to have that, you can just go and what? Click this, install it. You see that what does it do? Prettier, it is what? It's an opinionated code formatter, right? It enforces a consistent style by passing your code and reprinting it with own rules that make the maximum line length into account, wrapping the code when necessary. So it works in JavaScript, TypeScript, this JSON, JSX, CSS, all of them. So even if I go to my CSS, the same thing. If I go here and add something, maybe dot container, and I say I want dot container, I want maybe background color, and I do like this, and I say blue, right? And I come down and say font, maybe background color. Okay, I can just leave it like that because you see I have a long space here, right? Now because of the prettier that I install, when I save it, you see it will arrange it clearly.
It's tough.
Understand? So that is why what the prettier does. It formats your code into a perfect way or a professional way. Mhm. You can also use words. Just go and read all this and see if you, of course, they are the same thing that I just explained.
Mm.
Understand? You can so just this is about testing your website. Understand? These are some of the things that you can also use that tools like Cypress, Playwright, understand? Visual regression test, chromatic. All there are some tools that you can use to test your website. Understand? So the manual question and answer test across browser, check accessibility, and document test plans for key features. You understand? So this is all about um, the debugging and then browser compatibility. So these are some of the reference of browser supports. Look at it. Microsoft Edge, Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and Opera. Understand? So these are some of the CSS properties
Mm.
that it supports. Understand? Animation, all of them are supported. Let's see, animation delay, animation name, aspect ratio, background visibility. Let me see. All of them, most of them, box sizing, break after, box shadow. And so on. There are lots of properties, especially for CSS, but it is not all of them that you are going to use. You see media query. So it's not all of them that you're going to use, but then it depends on where you want to use it. Mhm. So this is all about browser compatibility and debugging.